Welcome back. What you see is my cemetery tongs or slab tongs, grave tongs, industrial, kind of like ice tongs. Using it to lift currently that's about a 300-pound concrete slab that I'm going to use to reset a marble headstone. And then the slot in there is to also replace the broken up marble tab, or excuse me, slot. It's a marble tab that's going to slip into a slotted base that you see here. So what got me thinking is, since I'm working alone, I just need something to better able to lift and handle slabs and possibly even lift foot level or ground level footstones, gravestones, markers, so that I can lift it up and then add some new fill underneath it, for the ones that have sunk below grade. But so I think we've got our final version of this, and basically it's simply a 1-inch square tubing and basically just a T. I've got so that's our lifting pin. Over the top of it, I've got a 1.25-inch square tubing, so one fits inside of the other. A little lifting loop on the top, and I've also got, so this is just a removable handle, so I can either use it to kind of steer, rotate, help position. Right now, again, it's hanging from my old tractor loader, but out in the cemetery, it'll be hanging from my tripod chain hoist. And so the concept is, very similar to ice tongs. Basically, as you lift, the pressure is applied toward the object and just kind of pinches it together. So the first version I had was using this, and basically the clamps, the claws on it were just too small. And by the time it started lifting, basically it was sliding off of the slab. So again, on the lift, it'd get out to about here before maybe starting to grab. It did help when I added a chunk of rubber, and as you see, I've done that on this as well. So the upgrade was basically to go. I have a friend that graciously supplied me a piece of scrap iron, and it's about 10 inches wide. It's about 4 inches vertical on the sides, and about 3 inches across. So it used to be C-channel, and we just cut one of the arms off of it. We've got 1-inch square tubing that I basically drilled with adjusting holes, and the receiver on here is 1.25-inch square tubing that slides over it. If you see another video, initially I started with only one hole, and it just didn't give me enough adjustment. I wanted to get things tighter and together, or closer together before I started the lift, so get the slop as much out of it as I can. Well, rather than drill more holes in the beam, the lifting beams, the lifting arms, I ended up drilling another hole in the telescoping receiver. Big tip for you is drill those holes before you start welding up, because it was a bitch to get this second hole aligned. And actually, if I did it again, or suggest to you, probably put 3 holes here, and that will give you a lot more lifting, or excuse me, a lot more adjustment. The pin here also will allow me to take that T-bar out of there and rotate it 90 degrees if need be. I've got a longer, about a 6-foot bar here, so if it's a lighter slab and or even 2 people, I've had lifting this one. So depending on which way, if you want to be perpendicular to your tool or parallel to the tool, just pull the pin and rotate the T handle. The 1/2-inch, this rubber that I've got in here is basically a 1/2 inch. It kind of seems like it's some type of a belting, just a scrap I had laying around, and it's bolted on there with 2, they're called elevator bolts, I believe. They're just, think of it almost like a carriage bolt, but a flat head to it. And I decided to try bolting it first as opposed to gluing it on. Now you may be wondering, our first incarnation, why I've got, let's see, this 2 level here. Well, imagine out in the cemetery, you run into foot markers that are sitting on a concrete slab, and then there's, let's say, maybe the granite marker over the top of it. So basically this gives me another tier or a higher attachment point. Now I'd put the bar, these lifting bars, through this top position, and it would clear the stone, and then be able to reach down to pick up the, hopefully pick up the concrete slab or whatever it's sitting on. So I'll probably cut these off here and weld them to the top of there. So that's kind of our first version of this, and it didn't work. Just needed more gripping area on the sides here. So you see that you know, we got about 300 pounds. Fairly simple construction. A lot of drilling, a lot of welding, especially with my limited shop here. Chop saw, drill, welder. It's about all you need. Just throw a piece of rubber around the lifting pin here, the T there, and to protect the stone or object that you're lifting. So we're going to use this to shortly throw it in the back of the pickup, take it out to the cemetery. I'll rig up my chain hoist unless I've got a volunteer to come out and help me, and then we'll lift it out of the back of the truck and hopefully reset a fallen marble monument that's I think it's from the 1800s. So we're going to call this my cemetery tongs, lifting tongs, slab handler, but you can see that you just have to be creative to try to, or at least for me, since I'm working alone out in this cemetery, I need to figure out ways to do things by myself, and also do them with my with a little more brain power than manpower, because you know, this stuff's heavy. Again, this piece alone is only relatively is 300 pounds, but I've been lifting objects 6, 8, 10 pounds, single pieces, and stack 2 or 3 of them together, and you're nearing about a ton of a monument. But so that's what I got going in my shop today, and hopefully you'll see it out in use in the cemetery. This hopefully will summarize some of the other videos I had going, now that we've got, I think, pretty much an end product here. So do what you can in your local cemeteries, or hope this helps you out on some of your other projects, be it a cemetery, masonry work, stone work, patio work. You guys can figure it out. So take care. Thanks.